Hello, I'm with Sue White from Alcatel Lucent. Sue, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, hello, I'm Sue White and I'm the Director of Product Marketing in Alcatel Lucent for our wireline division.
Sue, the reason I wanted to talk to you is that Alcatel recently announced a strategy called HLN, and I wanted to dig into that and try and understand a little bit better what it entails. Can you, first of all, explain why Alcatel is launching this strategy?
Absolutely. So first of all, HLN, it stands for the High Leverage Network. And perhaps before we discuss a little bit of detail on what the principles of the High Leverage Network are, we'll talk a little bit about why. What's happening in the market that's driving us towards a high leverage network. So I think one thing's clear. I mean, over the last 10 years, we've been continually increasing the broadband access speed, and today we're at a point where around about 17% of users now have fibre connection in terms of fibre to the home, fibre to the business, or fibre to the node. But this increase in bandwidth is also creating quite a change in the market dynamics. So particularly, we're seeing a lot more video, of course, but not just video on the fixed side, we're seeing video on the mobile side with the popularity of smartphones. So that's one key dynamic. Secondly, we're all using a lot more content from the internet. There's a lot of new applications and nice content. And this is creating a clear concern for the operators where the traffic on the networks are exploding dramatically, but not necessarily the revenues that go with that. And then we're seeing a third key area of change, which are governments. Governments are getting much more involved in broadband access. And the reason for that really is because they're seeing a very, very strong link between broadband access and the social and economic growth for the country. So with all those market dynamics, it's clear that operators really need to drive more value from their networks. And that takes us to the high leverage network. I mean, the high leverage network is based on two key principles and the operator solving two key simultaneous challenges. So the first one is scaling bandwidth, but scaling bandwidth at the lowest cost. And the second relates to preparing the network for service innovation and application enablement. And by application enablement, I mean the ability for the operators to use assets from the network together with for third parties that can leverage those assets and be able to add more value to the applications that they deliver over the operator network.
So let's take the two aspects one after the other. So scaling bandwidth, what do you mean exactly by that, and how operationally do your solutions enable the service provider to do that? Okay,
so when we talk about scaling bandwidth, the key thing is scaling at the lowest cost. So of course we want to continually increase, move to next generation access technologies. But when we do that, we want to do that at the lowest cost, and that means a few key principles. First of all, if operators have invested in copper and are not ready to migrate to fibre to the home, we want to make sure that they can get as much out of that copper network as possible. So leveraging technologies such as vectoring and bonding to enable that. But beyond the bandwidth question, it's also about going beyond just using access for residential, which is predominantly what it's used for today. So we also want to prepare the access nodes so that they can deliver effectively applications like mobile backhaul and business access. But not just business access for SOHO, business access for medium and large business customers as well.
Right, so a kind of a universal solution as opposed to a dedicated solution.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So with convergence being a key theme there, convergence at the service layer, meaning combining these applications on one platform, and also convergence at a technology layer, so leveraging a lot more the capabilities that we have in our company on IP and the different products and strengths we have in our IP portfolio into our access portfolio.
So the second aspect, which is something that's really interesting to me because it's something I've done some research about as well, is this ability to prepare the network for service innovation. Can you explain a little bit more how that works?
Absolutely. So one of the key trends we're seeing is more and more users access content from the internet. So what we want to enable the operator to do is to capture more of the value from some of that content. And this for us really means driving more intelligence into the network, into all aspects, distributed intelligence across the network. And in terms of access specifically, what we want to do there is enable the operator to do more with the services that are carried through access. be able to enhance the services that are carried through access. And then we have to look at, well, why access? Why is that the right place? And I think there's two key characteristics of access that lend itself very well for application intelligence going forward. I think the first is that it's the first node in the network, the first upstream node in the network. And again, if we look at the characteristics of traffic, we're going to see an awful lot more upstream traffic, not just downstream. So the access node is unique in its ability to be able to enhance service flows that come in the upstream direction dynamically. So if you want to upload photos and videos, but you need a very high stream connection to do that, then you want to be able to dynamically enhance those flows and have a higher stream bandwidth for the time you need it. So that's one key aspect. The other key aspect of access is that it's the only device in the network that knows everything that's on that last mile. So you can leverage that knowledge, you can understand all the different services that are being carried to do two things. First of all, to make sure that if you offer a service over access, you can offer it with the best quality of experience. But secondly, make sure that you can deliver more and more services over that access line. And that's particularly important for DSL. Obviously, as we move to VDSL, we still want to make sure that we can maximize the number of services over that access line. But the other key characteristic as well that is very important for application intelligence is the fact that access nodes are starting to serve more and more customers. So a GPON OLT can support 10,000 subscribers. That's an awful lot of subscribers. So now we can start to think of, well, access can start to play a different role. If we look at all this high bandwidth content that's coming through access, maybe access can start to cache some of that content. So a good example could be if we have a large live streaming popular internet event that a lot of users are going to watch. Quite a high proportion of those users are probably attached to that access node. So we can consider now, we can start streaming that internet content and caching very, very small chunks in access. So you only stream one copy of the video to access, and then you unicast that out from the access network.
And do that in real time, effectively.
And do that in real time.
Right.
And that can save considerable costs for the operator.
Okay.
So that they can be very effective in their own services like IPTV, but also be very effective in delivering high quality internet-based content as well.
Maybe one last question, very quickly. I think at least as far as I understand it, service providers are more than happy to hear about ways to reduce their costs. But do you think that they are right now culturally aligned to talking with internet layer application providers and work collaboratively in providing services? I mean, from the first reactions that you have on this story, do you think they're quite ready to do that? And in fact, do you think that the Googles and Yahoos and Flickrs of this world are ready to do that as well?
Well, I think that's the stage we're at now. I think when we discussed our strategy with the key operators, many operators said, yes, that's the kind of thing we need to do. So the next stage now, and what we're doing is working with many tier 1, tier 2 companies globally to build a business model for that. Because obviously it's not just about technology. It's about how the business model works, how it fits in with the regulations for that particular country or region. And that's exactly the stage we're in now. We have many live trials going on where we're testing these concepts and we're testing, more importantly, the business models that go with it. So I think we're at the early stages of that, but I think that is certainly beginning to happen in a few countries.
Okay, thank you very much, Sue.
Okay, thank you.